Speaker, I am personally offended by the suggestion that we, the members of the National Party caucus, could have been bought in such a way.
Well, I would say to the member that it is outside of standing orders to say that someone's in the control of or being in the pay of. There's no question about that. The Honourable Jim Anderton didn't go that far, I grant you. He did raise it by way of question, and I can see that people take it in an edgy way. But I have to say, on balance, this is to be a house of free speech. And people are entitled to say what they believe. Now, this could be a matter which is a matter which you take... I'm struggling for the word here for the moment. No, it's not umbrage. It's a matter of taste. The member has gone in a way in which is, people might find distasteful, but I think he has raised an issue, hard, sharp, but he's raised it in the form of a question. He has not said the National Party or a particular party has.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'll take aboard the comment in finishing and just ask this. Would the liquor industry tell us how much money they've given to the victory account of the National Party for the next election? And I'll be interested in that response as well, but I'm not holding
Point of order. Point of order. Joe.
Mr. Mr. Speaker, I am very concerned because the question that you referred to was how much, not was there money, but how much money. Therefore, this member is saying that the National Party has received money in response to policy. I again take offence. The question was not whether it had happened or not, but how much. Therefore, the inference is certainly that money has changed hands.
I'll just...
Speaking to that point of order...
Point of order, Jim Anderton.
The position that I'm now putting to the House is that the liquor industry can answer for itself. Did it and has it given any money to the victory account of the National Party, and or how much? And let the liquor industry answer it. I'm not holding my breath for the answer.
Speaking point of order, Simon Ridges.
Mr. Speaker, it seems to me we've got a very dangerous precedent being set by what your ruling indicates, which is effectively you can ask a question and put something in the form of a question and get away with it, but to do it otherwise is not allowed. Therefore, it's all right for me to say that a particular member is senile, or ask is he senile, but I cannot make that as a statement of fact. That to me seems very dangerous. It simply means you must rephrase everything to say, is the member senile and at a point where he should retire? And if I do it in a question, somehow that's okay, but if I do it as a statement, it's not. And it seems to me that's a very dangerous path to go down.
Speaking to the point of order, Sue Kedgley.
Mr. Speaker, I believe there was genuine public interest in knowing whether, and if so, how much the liquor industry and the advertising industry and the food industry, food and grocery industry, has contributed to political parties. I believe there is genuine public interest in knowing whether there is any linkage between the amount of monies these industries contribute to political parties and the outcome in a policy sense.
The Honourable Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the issue here is not the electoral law and what disclosures there should be, of which the National Party is absolutely committed to complying with the law. The issue that the Junior Whip for National has taken offence by, very appropriately, is the allegation that members such as myself, an appalling allegation, has been influenced in our decision around this very important public policy issue by such things. There's absolutely no evidence for that. It is grossly offensive and wrong, and if you are going to allow the sorts of statements that have been made by Mr Anderton, those sorts of claims, then in my view, then you are effectively allowing good members of this House name to be muddied in a way that I have not seen in my 20 years in this House.
I call the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to take the converse of the point made by Mr Bridges, Were you to rule, sir, that it was outside standing orders for members of this House to allege influence on a party by parties outside this Parliament, I would submit to you that that would unduly constrain the free and frank exercise of Parliament's privileges, for example, under Speaker's Ruling 34.2. And Mr Speaker, in this case, it seems obviously inexplicable to members of the opposition that the government, which has committed itself to pro-health policies, should have weakened its position on alcohol reform, and we are at a loss, sir, to find any other reasonable explanation.
Order. The member, you started to litigate. No, I just said, member, you're starting to litigate, make statements about the issue. It's out of order. I would demand it.
Mr Speaker, the protests from the National Party are interesting because if you read the Hansard, my question is, has any money been given? I never suggested it influenced anybody. I asked whether money had been given. And that is a question both the National Party and the liquor industry, and I'm interested in the answers. I've never said it influenced anybody. I just wanted to know the facts.
Yes, the Honourable Nick Smith.
I refer you quite specifically to Speaker's Ruling 52.4. A member may not use words suggesting that a party in the House has been dominated, obstructed or directed. And I say the key word is this. It doesn't say, it says the word suggest. Did the phrase that was used by Mr Anderton suggest that members on this side of the House were influenced by the money claims that he made? Of course he was making that suggestion, and that's why you should uphold the Speaker's rulings and not allow such allegations to be made that members on this side of the House say are wrong and offensive.
No, the members had two goes. Can I just say to the members, this is a very difficult issue. One of the first things the Speaker asks for this House is the right to free speech. And the right to free speech is a right to free speech. And this House is going to suffer if people do not have free speech. Now, in doing that, members have to be responsible for what they say. Members, if they say something which is manifestly wrong, and demonstrably wrong and offensive, they can be referred to the Privileges Committee, and the Privileges Committee can deal with that. So it's got to be something which is particularly wrong. The second thing is that there are matters then that fall in the area of taste. Not necessarily wrong, but distasteful. And I want to pick up on this theme a little bit, because I do agree with Dr Nick Smith that 52.4 is interesting, and it is correctly quoted. A member may not use words suggesting the party in the House or has been dominated, instructed or directed. Now, dominated, instructed or directive are direct connections. Now, what I understood Mr Anderton's proposition to be was that the people had been used influence. Now, influence is a step well back from dominated, directed or instructed. Influence is a much more diffuse thing. People can be influenced or not. The second point that Mr Anderton raised, and I guess it is a legitimate point for a member of Parliament to raise, is have members in the House been influenced to a decision by way of other events outside? This is common conjecture on radio talkback. In any group of people that you come to, people do ask these questions, and one of the defences we have against that as members of Parliament is the Register of Pecuniary Interests, to disclose members' interests so that people can see that our interests have not affected our decisions, and to be open in disclosing those. Now, it's also not in order to say that the government favours one class against another, particularly when it's suggesting that this continues to be made for a party's ends. Well, I don't get that from what Mr Anderton said. What Mr Anderton did was raise questions about has money been made available, has it influenced, and in this debate the National Party has more calls and can make the decision very clear where they stand on it. And I come back to one issue which I think was from the English Parliament, which is where a person was asked about, and they said they could not disclose a name, but they could do it.